Welcome New York to episode 144. We are minutes removed from seeing Tavon allegedly sock Lucho Acosta in the mouth, if you're asking VAR, if you're asking the referees that were on the field at the time. So the emotions are certainly fresh. The thought of going into a game 2 at City without Tavon is an interesting one, and not one that I expected us to have to wrestle with the thought of today. But here we are after a 1-0 loss at Cincy in the first game of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, to the Tavon red card, to me personally, that's never a red. You could see, I think he did go in with aggression, which is, I think, what alerted the sideline official to even question it, to have a conversation with the ref. But he didn't intend to punch him in the mouth. He intended to blow his shoulder out, I think. And maybe rightfully so, because the dude just flew into him karate style, 5 seconds prior.
That's what the announcers has said, that it was an Acosta foul.
Right.
Prior to that.
Right, which it was, because the free kick was given. For that.
So
that's where it gets a little bit weird, right? Because, I guess in the case of a red card, it doesn't eat that out, the red card, but, we didn't get a pen because of an offside, and the pen foul happened after.
Right.
A free kick was given up. But if you lash out like that, I guess it's...
Yeah, I think it's just what do they call that? Hands to the face. So they're saying he touched his face. I
think he did touch his face. So if that's...
Then it might be...
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're cooked if you touch the face.
Yeah, that's automatic.
That has long been
if
the standing rule.
Yeah.
And it did come off to me after Acosta rips that foul in the air on him. You do see Tavon chasing him down.
He's chasing the ball down with...
Acosta's in the way of
right there.
the ball,
yeah.
and Freese is not in that.
Right.
So, we're looking at a David Villa situation potentially from Acosta.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
Yeah, we're going to miss...
Tavon's a fighter. Yeah.
I guess this is why Nick toyed with, Micha being a right back for so long, to kind of be prepared for a situation like this where, Tavon either goes out with a red or an injury or whatever could possibly happen. So, I think we're going to need a big game out of Micha. Obviously, home field advantage in this specific game coming up on the weekend. Beyond a must win. Obviously, just in terms of 3 games, you need to win this one or we're done. But at home, you can't. It's kind of like the Yankees tonight. Mm-hmm. They need a win tonight
and
to kind of set the tone. And yeah, I think I would definitely sacrifice the Yankees loss for NYCFC win.
Well, you are literally a Red Sox fan, and at times have been known to wear a Dodgers cap.
I'm a free agent, really.
Yeah. So, but never for the Yankees, to make that very known.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm a baseball cap wearer, so if the hat looks good.
Yeah.
And I used to always think that the hat looked terrible, but it's grown a lot lately. This is the first time I told anybody that.
Well, not just you told an audience that for the first time.
Yeah, all 32 of them.
Talking about the game though, and with Tavon being out, it's hard to look at the impact of what that might have after a game like this, because it felt like the thing that Tavon has best brought to the field over the course of this season for the first time in his career is what he's contributed to the attack. And I don't know, it seemed like Cushing obviously had a very deliberate tactic that he was bringing into this game, and really what it was to put 7 people behind the ball and even more than that really, and almost completely abandon the attack, and I guess hope you can get to penalties with Cincinnati through 90 minutes, which is kind of a disaster class of an idea, of a showing, in my opinion. We've came on here and talked about Cushing doing this in the past, starting at a halftime or a 70th minute, where I just can't stand a team playing not to win. You know what I mean? That is what is really the most annoying from this performance for me.
Yeah, in terms of the fullbacks, I think the way that he was trying to use them, it seemed was that he wanted Tavon to kind of have a more a defensively back type of game, whereas O'Toole had more freedom to roam. I don't know what kind of tape he saw, because their winger was putting O'Toole in situations when he was pressed up to attack that, Risa and Martins weren't equipped to handle. Like, they were frequently, having to like skedaddle literally back.
Yep.
And so it's interesting I'd be interested to see what Nick Cushing saw in the tape that he was like, all right, we'll allow this guy instead of this guy to get out there and attack.
Yeah.
Neither really worked out. I think Kubo was like tearing up our midfield. I don't know. It seemed to me that James Sands was like off in a lot of ways. He didn't control the game in the ways that he normally does. He seemed a step behind, not having the confidence to go into challenges and things like that. It just seemed off for him.
Which is weird too, because he had Perea as his supporting cast, who we talked about it all last episode, that we would want, Perea needs to be starting in these games. Yeah. I think we saw the lineup drop with him, and it was questionable whether or not he would be sitting in that maxi role, or not maxi role, but within the midfield as opposed to out left like we've seen him at times. Obviously, he's sitting in the middle with Sands, and I don't know. Between the two of them, like, for us not to be able to put out a lot of the fires that we saw, like, that is definitely one of the most worrying things to see, because they're like two, first team, all NYCFC, like, fire putter outers in the midfield. Yeah. So that, that's worrying. I felt like Thiago was also kind of pulling his own back there. He obviously had on that one breakaway, I don't know if it was, I think it was Acosta, where he gets in front of it and saves it for Fries. And then right after we go, and Santi is maybe trying to be a bit too selfish in the midfield and gives up the ball, and then really everything breaks down defensively, whether that's Fries seemingly not trusting his center backs and O'Toole, and feeling like he has to come all the way out, even though I think it was Oriana that was taking the shot, and then Fries deflects it over to Acosta, and then somehow the one guy crashing the box is perfectly in between Tavon, Burke, and Thiago.
Well, Acosta literally bounced the ball off the dude's forehead into the goal. It was like an insane play by him. I think, Fries is kind of in this game dying by what makes him good. And it sucks when stuff like that happens, because all season you look at, what Matt Fries was able to do and what he was trying to do. A lot of it came on his first decision being correct and being able to execute on whatever that was. In this game, you saw with, not only the goal, but what could have been a Kubo goal, kind of coming out way, maybe too early. But if he does smother that, then we're sitting here saying like, wow, what a great play. So it's one of those things where you're living and dying by what makes you good. And, I would prefer that maybe he continues doing that, because when we play it safe, just bad things happen.
Yeah, and he's obviously doing it for a reason as well. Like, we don't, for whatever reason, our defense does have these moments where you would prefer the goalkeeper just comes and cleans it up, because Burke or O'Toole, at least like in the second half of this game, might do something silly, especially with giving the ball away. There's probably a conversation to be had about O'Toole. I think the first half he was by far the best player on the pitch for us. Yeah. And then, I'm not really sure
what happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. And that first play where he had given it away up the field, and we texted each other like everybody's going to tear O'Toole down for this one moment in what has otherwise been an amazing performance. And I had no clue that was like the peak of the roller coaster.
That was the bottom of the iceberg.
Yeah, he was at like the top of the King de Ka, and he was, he was.
I guess the tip of the iceberg is the expression, not the bottom.
Yeah. Because he was on his way to the bottom.
The top is what you see. You don't know that the bottom is there.
Yeah. And even that came from Keaton kind of losing possession up top and making a tough decision, or making a tough situation there, getting it to Kevin. So it felt like there was the perfect excuse there to be like, this was just an off moment. And then from there, I don't know if his confidence just started to go, or maybe his legs, but he kind of went missing. And, we have, I think, McFarland on the bench, but obviously there were other parts of the pitch that needed to be addressed first, being somebody like Keaton, who I think had an out-of-character game, and a Hannes who unfortunately had like an in-character game. Like, this is unfortunately what we've seen from Hannes for the second half of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you look at all of these performances, and it's like you have all of these off games from these guys that, outside of Hannes, like are typically our rocks. Like, you know, Keaton is one of our most important players. Alonso, the ability for him to go and grab early goals or just you know, catch people on the counterattack. You know, without those things happening, I mean, Santi even really didn't have a great game. You have all of these off performances, and this is why, in my opinion, fans get upset because, you know, you can have almost 6 of your 11 players have off games and lose by 1. Mm-hmm. That's where it gets really, really frustrating because you just want so much more for the team, and you want things to click, and they're just not, and you have to find the reasons why.
Yeah, and I don't know what the reason was behind our attack completely missing tonight. I think Alonso took 1 shot on target, and it was that one where he just rolled it to Celentano. I'm trying to think of like any other high value shots or attacks that happened. You have the Pereira breakaway where, for whatever reason, Alonso decides to take it wide, and when you lose that 2 seconds, it forces Pereira to go and try to take a shot by himself, which, you know, fair play. I don't really think he had a great option there, but like, yeah, where was Santi? Maxi came in and he seemed to normalize the midfield, as you texted.
I think is the biggest thing.
Yeah, but like moving forward, there was nothing.
Yeah, that's where, you know, the lack of offense and things like that was a direct result of Maxi not starting the game.
And it's tough because we praise the Pereira start, but how do you get both? How do you get them in there? I guess you don't start Keaton.
You don't start Hannes.
You
don't start Hannes, and you put one of the other guys on the wing, and you put Santi on one of the wings. Mm-hmm. You know, look how much better we were in possession, creatively, how much more together we seemed when Maxi was at the 10. Like, Santi is a great player, and he's developed a lot at the 10, but we have to come on here all the time and remind people, I don't think he's a 10. He can be effective at times at the 10, but he's not consistent in the way that Maxi is. Like, not to quote Kanye, but like, he hasn't been putting in the work to be what Maxi is at 10. Like, there's without a doubt, Max needs to be the 10 next week for us to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, there's a calming presence when Maxi is in that is directly contrasted to what it feels like when Santi isn't at that role. Like,
it's a lot more chaotic with Santi.
The goal that we gave up, like, it started with Santi, and like that was not the only moment where Santi was, and you know, fair play to him because he is the player on the pitch for us that has the skill, and like he's one of the only ones where I'm okay with him taking those chances and like doing those things, and like there are going to be moments where it bites you, but that, you know, when it bites you in the way of conceding a goal, like that is where it really kind of gets a light shown on it being kind of a bigger underlying issue that, you know, you don't really pay attention to. And yeah, that, you know, trying to force everything, always, you know, kind of trying to be a little bit too cute. And to be fair, I thought the selfishness was warranted at times because nobody was giving him an outlet. But yeah, the calmness that Maxi brings is like undisputed. Right. And I guess on the Spanish broadcast, Rob had mentioned Maxi had some kind of muscle injury that held him back from starting, which is, I don't know how you can play at all if you can't start. Right. That, you know, that definitely comes into question. So it's an interesting one. It's a tough, it's going to be a tough game at City.
Yeah, and that's not to say that, you know, we don't want to see Santi sometimes playing through the middle, because I think he's very effective in those areas and dribbling and all of that stuff. He just can't be the one who, in my opinion, is responsible for driving the attack. He can't be the engine. I'm sure, like I said, at times he'll be able to do it, but the consistency is key. The consistency that we saw from Maxi at the role is the reason we have a championship and the reason we're able to have a leg up on some of the competition as fans for bragging rights. Like, Maxi was that guy.
Yeah. And Maxi is our Acosta. Like, Maxi is our Hill. Like, he is our Mukhtar. Like, Maxi's older and much smaller.
Yeah.
And, you know.
And not as good now as he was 3 years ago. But
right.
Still very, very effective. Still the most effective player on our field outside of Alonso when he can put the ball in the back of the net.
And they play so well together, Maxi and Santi.
Yeah.
And you need Santi up left for that to be
Right.
the thing that's going to go well.
But what was weird was when you get Maxi subbed into the game, you end up getting Pereira at right wing up until the point that Julian comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that to me it's bizarre to see. How do you even explain that?
There isn't an explanation. I mean, the loss of quality from replacing Pereira on the right wing for Julian is you can't even. There are truly no words for it. And Julian out there today, unfortunately, he did have a very tough performance, and probably statistically, or he looked a lot worse than he probably is.
Yeah.
But
he almost scored, to be fair, at the end.
Yeah, that was a sick little flick on
flick.
there. Yeah. But I think 2 or 3 possessions went to him and just died because he poked the ball away from himself too far, trying to dribble around, and then a couple of misplaced passes too that died with him. So that's tough. But you kind of do want to get Keaton out of the game too with what we were talking about. So
yeah, the problem with Julian for me is that I do think he's very talented, and I think he's athletically promising, and he can be very, very good. The problem is he needs 5 yards of space to pull off a dribble because everything he does is so exaggerated. Mm-hmm. Why is he fully going 5 yards to the right just to make a dribble move, just to realize when he looks up that the defender has just grabbed the ball and moved up the field? I was comparing him to a guy that we play pickup soccer with because of how exaggerated his dribbles are. It's never going to work in the MLS. It might work, in Argentina or, some other lower quality leagues. It's not going to work here. And he needs to start, training in tight areas, in close quarters, set up some cones, maybe, I don't know.
And it's tough too. The other thing that he needs is some type of form or some type of confidence too. He is more or less coming into this game completely cold, and that's what a lot of our subs were coming in as. We saw some concoction of strikers up top that I don't even want to try to disassemble and make sense of. But we have obviously Jovan and Baki both in there. I feel like if you were to have a Jovan, a Baki, and a Julian to pick from in terms of just pure confidence or potential minutes that they've received lately in competitive soccer, you have to go with Baki. If you're going to be making an attacking sub, especially because Alonso was missing. He was
completely gone.
I have no clue where he was tonight.
Being offside.
Yeah.
Apparently.
We still haven't
seen the tape.
We haven't seen any tape. I don't know. But it has to be Baki out of those 3. I don't know how it becomes Julian.
I think they're probably just throwing the kitchen sink at it.
Yeah.
Trying to get something because they know, without a goal, we're definitely losing the game. There's no redos. And so I don't hate that move. I just think, it's probably better served in the beginning of the game to try something like that out where, you've got defenders behind, but you have 2 strikers up top that are able to at least occupy the center backs and allow some space maybe to grow. It just wasn't there. I think the flow of the game was a little bit weird too because we had talked early on in the game that it seemed like both teams were kind of afraid to make their first move. And I don't know if that was a result of maybe Cincy planning for us to be on the front foot fast like we typically like to do, trying to get that first goal. Maybe they were trying to play back and play a little safer so they don't give up, a big explosive play that, allows us to go up 1-0 as opposed to being down. But we are on to a home game, which, how are you feeling about that?
I mean, I know we're going to it, so that adds a whole nother layer of anxiety around the game in general. I mean, even today, in the days leading up to today, being reminded what playoff soccer is is a tough thing to get back into. I don't know. I liked our chances in this game too. And like, if it was a regular season game, what Cushing would be saying and he might be saying this right now, is like 1-0 is a good result at Cincy, which I want to freak out when I hear that from him. But like if it wasn't playoffs, like that would be a true statement.
Yeah, I think so. But the way that we got to the 1-0 was not a good result.
That is, yeah.
That's the biggest thing, and I think that needs to sink in to the team. Because, especially in playoffs.
The fact that it's the playoffs is,
it is do or die. I think the fact that it's been dragged out to, 3-game series is literally the only thing that's giving us hope.
Right.
Because we know that we possibly have 2 more games, definitely 1 more. I just think.
But also
in a real world right now, we're tweeting that our season's over. Like that's in past worlds, that's the reality right now.
But I also do feel like we may come in with a different intensity
at home.
If we know, like if it's a one and done, like our 2021, like you're just playing a game each week.
Well, now it's one and done for the rest of the time.
Yeah, now it is one and done. But it's hard to say. That's why I don't really know about the format. It's like it's hindsight is great because now we can be like, well, we would be out otherwise. But like, I would like to think that we come into this game not playing for penalties from the zeroth minute. That's not even a thing.
First minute.
From the first minute.
Because even minute, when the clock is 0, it's still the first minute.
Like, why does Cushing do that, bro? Like, I can't get over that.
I think.
Like, he is he's definitely he's like overthinking things. Like, he's 100%. Like, we can get to pens at the away game. Maybe we steal one. If we don't, I know that we're going to win at home. And then, like, the third game, maybe we'll be in form and ready to take it. Like, the way that we rolled out, there was no way that he showed up like, we're playing to win this game today within regulation. And that's just like such a bad mindset.
I don't know. I could kind of see him thinking, they're going to play on the front foot at home. We're going to be able to defend, get some balls in behind, get it up to Alonso, make some plays on the counter and get out of here with a 1-0. I think that more than anything is probably the thought process, but it opens you up to your players being completely uninspired.
Yeah.
Like if the plan is that, I can't imagine, Asante being like, I can't wait to just boot the ball up the field and hope.
No. Like a lot, yeah.
They're trying to throw Hail Marys up there, for 90 minutes. It's
like showing up to the game and like already conceding that the other team is better than you and like you're just here to like weather a storm.
Right.
That's already such a negative mindset to be approaching what is a must-win game. Like every game is a must-win game. It has been for a while for us. And like we need to have that level of intensity. And it didn't feel like we did tonight. There wasn't a lot of, until the end of the game when it really became kind of kitchen sink. And obviously the intensity with Tavon throwing a punch and all these different things. Like we got there in the end, but like we have to show up like that. And maybe that's what it takes. Maybe it takes, and we've said this a lot about our club, like maybe it takes us having our backs up against the wall.
A lot of times it does.
That is genuine.
Sometimes we do cook when that is the situation. It just sucks, man. We have hearts. Like, we're not trying to have heart attacks at 30.
No.
Give us a break, man. Come on. But I mean, I almost wish that, if the playoffs were going to this 3-game format and we're trying to, do the baseball, basketball, NHL type thing, that it would just be 3-game series for everything. Because then it just seems like, it just seems weird to just have it and not have it ever again.
It'll be a different
like
format.
The finals. I think the finals, if anything, should be a 3-game because like a one-off is like
that's
cheesy.
I don't know. And also like no extra time, like whatever happened to extra time in anything related to MLS. Like we don't get extra time in the Leagues Cup. We don't get it in Next Pro. We don't get it in these games, these best of 3 games. I believe in the next rounds, though, we're back to normal next round.
What that smells of is like a players' association type thing. Like
minutes.
We want less minutes on our legs, but we still want exciting
Yeah.
finishes. So how do we get there?
Well, the whole thing with the best of three, if you had to ask me, is that they're trying to get every team a home playoff game. Like it
Which is
guarantees
cool.
that. It guarantees
But, like,
that. Which is a bit Mickey Mouse when
It is super Mickey Mouse.
How many teams are making the playoffs? They said
16.
Oh, I thought it was like 18 out of
Oh,
30.
I thought it was the top. Oh no, it's more than the top 8 now.
Because then you have the you have
play-ins.
the play-ins, the wild cards. So I think it's 18 teams out of 32. Like people already have an issue with more than half the league getting in.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's tough to say. It's like, it's making a lot of.
But that's the thing. Is like, in a weird way, if we are destined to be out in first rounded, like I'd rather watch that shit on TV.
Yeah.
In a messed up way.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather get it over with in one game too, and not drag it out.
Yeah.
The extra chances are fun when it's not going right at the start.
Yeah.
But like it's so much better. Like if Cincy fans at the moment, like they just wish the shit was over and they were on to the next round. Like now we have to go through all these pleasantries of flying to New York and like doing all this other stuff.
And if you look at it from their perspective too, like in their minds, because I mean, if our player got fouled like Acosta did at the end, I would be on here like, the fucking bastards over at Cincy. They're terrible. Lock them up. They're looking at it as like, my player has to now go to an away game, a tough game in a place that, this team is very, very good at and has the possibility of getting injured and missing the rest of the playoffs.
Or just like getting clipped and like losing that game.
Yeah.
And now having to have
a very intense game at home.
Very intense third game.
Yeah, because I can't imagine that Nick Cushing for the rest of this series is like, now we'll just take our foot off again and we'll see what happens. Like I think
crazier things have happened.
I think fireworks at Citi Field.
Crazier things have happened. Way crazier.
I don't know, but I keep going back. It's like it's difficult not to be that degenerate brain that's like, we did only lose 1-0 to a team that is probably on paper much better than ours. Granted, in the same situation of having to have this game in this series, but we only lost 1-0. They can get touched at home. Like it's very possible that we put a couple on their head at home.
Yeah,
and we're looking at a game 3 to decide who moves on.
Yeah, and I believe part of what made it. So something that we should have capitalized on was I think both of their starting center backs or their center backs with the most minutes this season are injured too. So like that is something crazy to think of coming into the game and then seeing kind of the lack of production that we were able to have on the field knowing something like that. So there definitely is, when you're in the Bronx or when you're in Queens, the vibe around the club and even the players in general, like they seem to be a lot more comfortable. For whatever reason in the MLS, home field advantage is an extreme advantage. It truly is. So just have to see what happens. I do still feel good about it. Like you said, the degenerate part of the brain believes that anything's possible.
Yeah.
That, that we'll be in this cold ass studio in December still recording somehow. But, we kind of have to take it one step at a time.
Yeah. And I just, I hope, bare minimum, the team goes out and shows fight.
I hope we score at least one goal in the playoffs.
Need a playoff goal.
Wouldn't that be great?
It's crazy to even think about.
From the goal per 90 leader of the league.
I think we gassed it too much.
In a league with killers.
In a league, well, Suarez is an attempted killer because he tried to bite someone's body off. Scumbag.
Imagine if we ever see them in the playoffs.
Oh,
life would be great because
I pray for like the day that I no longer care to have a media pass and I see Suarez in that tunnel.
Heckling him.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know. It's I don't know. If we do get the opportunity to see them in the playoffs, that means things are going great. So, we can wish for that. I honestly don't know around the league what the results have been. I know all 4 home teams won their matchups, 5 now with Cincinnati, so I'm not sure if that means. I know Miami won. I'm not sure if Columbus or Red Bulls played yet, and if they did, if Columbus won because of the the home team thing at the moment, but
if that happens, if all the home teams win, then we have to. I mean, this is true degenerate, but like an away team parlay.
could go to well, that means betting against ourselves.
I didn't.
You
I
didn't compute that.
Yeah,
Put that one on ice. Put it on ice.
Put it in the studio.
So we'll see you guys at Citi Field, and we'll see you guys after Citi Field. Hopefully, we'll have to have a third game too. I don't even know. I think that becomes a midweek maybe, or I don't know if it's still spaced out by a week.
I think it would be like Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday or Thursday, I think.
Yeah, so that'll be a quick turn. We'll have to see, probably do an episode at the stadium like usual. We haven't been to the stadium in a while.
Well, I haven't been to Citi Field in
Long time.
Can't even imagine. Yeah, which means no ice cream machine from Yankee.
No, like anything. No fun. No fun at Citi Field.
Cold sandwiches.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll do it for our post.
I thought you were gonna pull the number out of the episode.
144.
Oh, okay.
That'll do it for 144.
You did.
Follow us anywhere that you get a podcast. Mm-hmm. Follow us on Twitter. That's where you'll be able to talk with us about really anything. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace. Go Steelers.